So if I was to follow one pull workout for the rest of my life, it would be the workout that I'm performing today. So let me take you through, courtesy of TVB Kuna, my ideal session when it comes to building the most amount of strength and muscle mass in my back, my rear delts and my biceps. So exercise number one is, of course, a chest supported T-bar row. If I was in a situation where I didn't have access to a chest supported T-bar row, I would do ideally any machine row that had a chest pad to support me. A bent over barbell row, it could be a single arm dumbbell row, it could even be a seated cable row. A really common thing that people get wrong with the chest supported T-bar row is actually where to place their chest. You'll see a lot of people, especially if you're a little bit too tall for the machine like me, would still put their feet on the platform and almost like hang over the pad with the pad against more so their rib cage as opposed to actually on their chest. My recommendation is to put your feet flat on the floor. This way you can actually put your chest in a more appropriate position so that the actual row of the movement itself feels a lot more comfortable. What can happen if you're too far up on the chest supported row is a very uncomfortable way of rowing, and it ends up being a situation where you feel a lot of the row coming through your biceps and your forearms, as opposed to being in a position where your chest is predominantly placed around the pad and you can really drive your elbows back as far as you can. But as you can see, my wrist, my elbows are nicely lined up, as opposed to when you're a little bit too far forward and there's not that same sort of symmetry between your wrists, your elbows, and your wrists and your elbows. So we are on set number 2. Rather than horsing on a load of weight, which I usually do, I'm really trying to do my best to isolate my back, isolate my traps, and ensure that those are the muscles that achieve failure, as opposed to injecting a little bit more momentum into the equation, being able to get more weight and whatever. It's not the strategy that I'm going with for this session. Exercise number 2 in this ideal pull workout is probably an exercise that you yourself are not going to be able to complete, for the reason that you probably don't have the luxury of having access to a gym that has such a beautifully made piece of equipment such as this Panatta pull down machine. So if you don't have this Panatta pull down machine, what I recommend that you in your humble abode should do is either a neutral grip lat pull down or a neutral grip pull-up. Or if you can't do pull-ups, maybe you're a little bit too heavy for pull-ups, maybe you're a little bit too weak, you might do, God forbid, an assisted pull-up machine. It's actually not a bad exercise, it's really, really good. Oh, we're gonna need more weight. If you're looking to extract an extra 1-2% from your rowing, your back exercises, it might be worth investing in a set of wrist straps. These ones are from Gymshark. Probably the favorite ones that I've used, to be fair. Really, you don't need anything that's overly complex, just any bit of material that allows you to secure your grip a little bit more is going to have the same impact. They just basically allow you to hold on for a little bit longer, which should allow you to get an extra 1 or 2 reps. So I interrupt this broadcast to bring you a message from my sponsors. My sponsors being MPActivewear. The one thing that I will say about MPActivewear, and of course I'm paid to say this, but I've been buying them since 2017. Scroll back to, I'm pretty sure, the first ever post that I put up on my Instagram page. It's me in a grey My Protein beater with a caption about muscle memory that was taken straight from Wikipedia. So I've been buying MPActivewear as long as I've been buying Gymshark, which is close to 10 years at this stage. And when I say they are incredibly underrated when it comes to gym wear, they are incredibly underrated when it comes to specific garments that are tight enough on the arms, on the shoulders and chest to make them look immaculate, but not too tight that you're basically wearing spandex. So if you're browsing their sites looking for high quality, affordable gym wear and you decide to pick something up, it would be much appreciendo if you'd use code Sean at the checkout. Now, let's get back to the video. The final back exercise in an ideal back or pull workout is going to be a horizontal neutral grip row. The difference between a horizontal neutral grip row versus a horizontal horizontal overhand grip row is the degree of elbow flare. So when you're tucking your elbows a little bit closer to your side, it's going to draw a little bit more lats into the equation. It's still obviously going to be a lot of traps involved. That's the function of your traps and your lats to a degree, is to bring a weight, or to bring your arm from out in front of the body in towards your body. In truth, the exercise, the specific exercise that you select to get this horizontal neutral grip row, again, not important. Very rarely is any one exercise crucial to implement into a program. So if you don't have this beautiful Panatta chest supported row, well then you could easily achieve the same thing with a single arm dumbbell row. You could achieve the same thing with a seated neutral grip cable row. So it's really not important. You know, if you have the luxury of having great equipment, obviously use that. But if you have a bare bones gym with just dumbbells and maybe if you're lucky a cable machine, then absolutely use that as well. It is extremely difficult, if not entirely impossible, to isolate very specific portions of big muscle groups. So for example, you'll see a lot of things about how to isolate the lower lat during a row, and you know, there might be certain movement patterns that bias or that emphasize that portion of your lat a little bit more. But there's no avoiding the fact that a movement where your arms are outstretched in front of your body versus a movement where you're forced to bring your elbows back towards your body is going to require input from your traps, it's going to require input from your lats, it's going to require input from your rear delts. And it's going to be absolutely impossible to specifically isolate individual portions of your back when it comes to doing a back movement. But all you can do to ensure optimal development of all segments of your back is to include a range of different angles, a range of different grips, certain varying degrees of elbow flare versus your elbows being tucked, of course including movements where your arms start above your head and movements where your arms start out in front of your body. If you do those things, combined with obviously progressively overloading over consecutive weeks, months and years, you will do very, very well building a big back. So we're going to go for a machine rear delt fly. Most people should have access to this, but if you don't, you can do a bent over dumbbell rear delt fly. The reason I'd go with this over something like a face pull is I find a face pull is very difficult to achieve legitimate failure. There's just a lot of variables going on. Number one, I know you can hold it a different way, but I find holding the rope a bit uncomfortable on my baby finger. I know it makes me sound like a bit of a bitch, but it is what it is. But also, you know, it's very hard to strike that balance between a weight that's appropriate enough that you can maintain good form to failure versus going too heavy and needing to like jerk the weight a little bit. So in most cases, I'm going to prefer a machine rear delt fly. Now, in terms of your hand position, there's an argument to doing like a more neutral grip this way versus again doing an overhand grip this way. Find out what feels the most comfortable for you. Find what gives you the best pump, the best stimulus. Not that that's important, but you know, whatever you enjoy, you'll probably do more consistently. With a machine rear delt fly, picking an appropriate weight can be a bit of a challenge for some people, but it might help to know that you, with a row, for example, so if you're doing a machine row, a chest supporter row, a dumbbell row, you are in most cases trying to drive your elbow back as far as you can. But when it comes to a rear delt fly, it's a little bit different. A lot of you will try and fucking take flight with the thing. So you're really trying to flap your arms up. You're like trying to touch your arms together behind your body, which you really don't need to do. If you can get your arms to a point where they're 90 degrees, what's that mean? Perpendicular to your chest, to your torso, you don't need to go any further back than that. And so that, knowing that alone might help you to load on a little bit more weight and get ultimately a little bit more out of the exercise. So last week's video was dedicated to Gymshark. This week's video is dedicated to my protein. So we have the black base layer, we have the, I think they're called like pocket active shorts. I really do love a base layer. If you're in good shape, so maybe you're not quite there yet, as I said in the last video, maybe it's motivation for you to get to that point. But once you have built up a bit of muscle, a bit of vascularity, there really is nothing better than a nice fitting, well, probably a little bit too tight fitting base layer. So I'm currently experiencing a bit of a bicep injury, as I mentioned in the last video, from having to do like 1,000,000 curls in the photo shoots I had with my protein and Gymshark. So I'm not going to be taking this to all-out failure, but for demonstration purposes, the first of 2 bicep exercises that I'm going to be performing is a variation of a preacher curl. If you don't have a preacher curl machine, you can do this with a dumbbell and a bench. You can do a single arm dumbbell preacher curl, or if you do have an easy bar free weight preacher curl setup, well then just do that. That's enough. So one thing that I'll notice a lot of people complaining about when doing a bicep curl is the fact that the bicep curl, it hurts their wrists. A bicep curl really shouldn't hurt your wrists if you're gripping the bar in the right place. A lot of people's problem is that they're gripping it more with their fingers, or the bar is closer to their fingers than it is to the foot of their palm. So if you can make sure that the bar is resting firmly across the foot of your palm, you'll generally notice more comfort when it comes to doing the curl. If it's a little bit too far towards your fingers, it's just going to force your wrist to bend, and that's not going to be a comfortable position for anyone. If it's hurting, take a look at where you're gripping the bar and try to make sure that regardless of what curl that you're doing, that the bar is firmly resting across the foot of your palm. So the final exercise in an ideal pull workout is going to be a neutral grip curl. This could be a cable curl, you could do this on a rope, on a cable machine, or you can do it with 2 sets of dumbbells. So generally, I would like to include a underhand grip variation when doing a curl, so I did that on the preacher curl. And if I do an underhand grip for exercise number 1, I'll generally do a neutral grip for exercise number 2. My left bicep is pretty fucked, so I'm not going to be able to do. I know that looks pretty pathetic doing like 6 repetitions of 20 kilo dumbbells when I could do 30 kilos before, but I assure you, I'm nursing an injury. The only reason I'm doing a second set of these, because my bicep is in fucking pain, it's to try and get an angle where I look absolutely wham. And I'm not quite sure the first one did it, but hopefully the second one will.
As should be the case with every workout that you do, you should be aiming to finish on a high and get a decent chunk of protein in shortly after the workout. An anabolic window isn't really a thing. It's not the case that you need to have a protein shake within 30 minutes of finishing your workout or that workout was obsolete, but you should be trying to, at least within the next 1 to 2 hours, to get some hit of protein in. My meal of choice is a bowl of protein porridge with grapes, raspberries, blueberries and strawberries on top, all to be washed down with yet another can of Monster. It's my second one today. So that wraps up what I would consider to be the ideal pull workout that I would do if I could do just one for the rest of my life. If you're picking up anything from MPActivewear, it's code Sean for 10% off. Picking up anything from Gymshark, it's code Sean10. And if you're looking for an upper body workout that you could do to maximize your growth and strength in the gym, I suggest you give this video a watch. Adios.